I've had situations where on paper the partner was quote unquote perfect, and what is perfect is what I always thought the partner needs to be, which is a result also of my upbringing. So what was always emphasized in my upbringing: good family, education. Those were two big ones. What's important for me is also femininity, for example, and kind of like what are they striving for in life, career-wise. And so I would have those ticked on paper: good family, high IQ, good education, pursuing doctorate. But my heart, my intuition was like, she's not the right one for you, but on paper she was perfect. And so this is the classic mismatch between heart and mind. And it didn't work out. It just wasn't there, because part of you is like, oh no, but she is the right one. There's something you're missing. She is the right one. And the feeling is like, oh, you should probably distance yourself. You're just being torn apart all the time. Now, on the other hand, I had the other thing in dating as well, which is my heart felt like she is the right one, but on paper, maybe she wasn't educated. Maybe the family wasn't what I always thought upbringing should look like, right? And my feeling was like, oh, I should be with her, but she can't be the right one because this and this is not present. The problem is when you have that mismatch, what happens is, it's so crazy because evolutionarily, I feel like we are wired to bring those back in balance. So I go about my day and I will find, for example, enough evidence to be bothered by her, even though my feeling is I want to be with her. But because my mind is telling me, oh, she doesn't come from this family, she's not educated, anything that she will do throughout the day will be like, oh, see, this is enough evidence. This is evidence that she's not the right one. You see, if her parents were this and that, she wouldn't be acting like that. So my attention will go out and seek enough evidence until it confirms the thing that I believe needs to be true. That's literally how the operating system works. And so I have a mismatch. You feel like you want to be with her, but you see all the evidence why you shouldn't be, and you're going to be in utter distress. So part of it is aligning that. And sometimes, in my case, it was rewriting my belief system of who is the right partner for me. If I feel that that partner is right for me, I need to sit and first dissect, why do I believe that the partner is right for me? So now I find the reasons to bring the ego is always preoccupied with reasons. So now I find the reasons why she is the right partner for me based on how I feel with her. Oh, because she's very nurturing, because she's giving me a lot of attention, because I feel even more confident with her, because I feel like she's a second spine. So now because the ego gets on board with that, but it's a lengthy process. That's how you align the heart with the mind. And then when you have those aligned and you go about your day, you will now seek out the bits and pieces of information that actually affirm why you should be with her. So as long as you just make your mind up without making your heart up, you have a high likelihood that they may be misaligned. Extrapolate that to career, extrapolate that to starting your own business, extrapolate that to the relationship with your parents, extrapolate that to a relationship with your friends. It applies everywhere. The heart and mind, when they're misaligned, you're gonna be living a life of stress. Even though you might have great outcomes, you might have money, you might have status, but there's always going to be a part of you that lacks when heart and mind are misaligned.
Yeah, we just need to be more like kids. Kids just go straight by the heart. You imagine a kid in a playground and who they're drawn towards. They're not concerned about how smart the other person is or what other checklist they've matched in their head about, have they reached this equivalent level of things that I believe, because again, that's what a checklist really is. It's like you deciding these are the things that I represent. I'm looking for the complementary qualities for that from my partner. I had a pretty extensive list as well. One, I think it was helpful to have that list so that I can be honest with myself what I'm actually looking for. And then two, I think it's good to tear that list up and throw it in the bin. Because you've got to just go with the heart. I'm someone who's way too often up here with trying to figure things out, either to understand them, analyze them, understand my place in the universe, all the extra stuff that goes on up here. But I need to constantly bring it back down to here, because otherwise I'm just off with the fairies, bring it back down to here. Because you'll know when you're sat with someone. There's things that you can't. We talk about the man with the five senses. We're so limited.
Now
Bro,
we're getting to the interesting parts.
It's all like you'll be sat with someone. You'll be drawn in.
That's very interesting, actually. We can actually dig deeper into this. The listening to the heart part and listening to your intuition part, that's such an important topic, because we all kind of have it, but sometimes we listen to it and sometimes we violate it, right? I learned for myself that the clarity and the quality of my heart's voice, intuition, let's use those interchangeably, depends on my state of consciousness that I currently embody. If I live in a state of consciousness and embodiment of a version of myself that is a version that I want to be, or that is very close to being to a version that I want to be, then my intuition, it functions as a midwife that remembers the path towards becoming that ideal version of myself that I want to be. So to that regard, I'm responsible to listening to my intuition, acting upon it, because it is aligned with that ideal version of self. But if I'm emotionally in a state that is despair, and we've spoken about this some time before, but not to this extent. If I'm in a state of consciousness, in a vibration that is desperate, that is sad, that is not calm, that is turbulent, then you have to be very careful, because sometimes that voice of heart or intuition could be there to just gratify you in the short run. It might nudge you towards doing certain things that align with that current state of consciousness, which is seeking pleasure over pain. So to that regard, I would say listening to your heart also means you need to upscale your heart to a certain degree. And what I mean by that is you need to align your state of consciousness as much as possible with the version of self that you know you want to be.
Yes.
Because I've had times where my heart was telling me I should go out and drink. You know what I mean? It's like it really depends on how clear are you and how close are you with that ideal version of self that everyone needs to make up for themselves. Mm-hmm. That's whoever you want to be in terms of relationships, in terms of career, in terms of spiritual development. How closely are you aligned with that? How much are you meditating? How much are you able to sit in silence? How honest are you with yourself? All of those are going to be pointers that make up the quality of your intuition and of your heart's voice. And then I would absolutely agree with the fact that you should be choosing your heart. But in order to get a clear and crisp voice of your heart, it's like an onion that you need to peel back.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of voices around you that may nudge you towards short-term gratification if you're in pain.
Yeah, and as we discussed on previous episodes, whenever those other voices come up and you're not sure where they're coming from, is that my intuition or is that my head? It's your head, dude. It's always your head. Unless it's clear as day. So when you're talking about the midwife and how clear that and concise that voice is, how softly spoken but clear and loud it is, it's present for you as a guide. The universe, the midwife, whatever you want to call it, will say this way. And you don't question it because you know you're doing your part. The only time you question it is when you know that you're not doing enough, I think. Because it's, as you said when we did the radical responsibility episode, it's across. You don't be like supreme in one area and then lack at everything else. You have to hold yourself to standards which are across the board. As far as I've been able to tell. Because if one door swings open, then a couple others swing open for me. So I have to be pretty strict across the things that I know I have troubles with or I struggle with. I have to be more strict on certain things than I do in other things. For somebody else, it might be different. Mm-hmm. That's why we're so perfectly imperfect, because we're so complex, because we have all of these different layers and no one's layers are in the same order as someone else's. That's why it's also quite a fun puzzle to play, to figure yourself out, mm-hmm. to become more than you thought you were able to be. Again, and something else that you say frequently, when you beat that challenge part of yourself and you realize, I can do that 800 meters in that time. I can lift that amount. I can turn that in on time actually before it was meant to be, submitted. You just get into this framework of proving to yourself that you can be more than you currently see, which is where it all comes back down to.
That's a good point. And you just made one thing clear, which is you can simply judge whether that is your true intuition, your true heart, or whether that's a voice that is trying to avoid pain by the level of confidence you gain as a result of following that voice over time. If it's genuinely the voice of intuition, the divine voice, you will feel more confident following that voice over time. And the fruits it bears is a better life in all areas. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you follow that voice and the opposite happens, you feel guilty, your confidence crumbles, and your life deteriorates, you're actually not following your true intuition.
Yeah, because your intuition, and I'm going to put this out there, same as I would say God won't let you down, your true intuition will not let you down either, because it's the same thing. It's the same voice. It's the light that guides you. It's the pathway. What we often tend to do is try and do too much ourselves with our brains and create everything to be the way that we want it to be.
Yeah.
That we block most of the divinity from actually just letting it play out the way that it was meant to. And we'd probably get there a lot quicker if we just let it play out.
Yeah, that's a tough one though, because sometimes things happen.
It's very tough.
Yeah,
we want it to be exactly how we want it to be.
Sometimes things happen the opposite. You get a huge obstacle, the exact opposite of what you want. How can you trust that as, that being the right thing? That's the challenge. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh no, but it has to be that way. It has to be like I mapped out the plan. And now it's not happening that way. It has to be wrong. What you're saying is that you need to realize that this is actually part of the divine plan for you to get there quicker. Or get to a better version even of what you ever envisioned, right?